problem is when you talk about bringing you need a lot of, when I did 2 litters with my female, I had unbelievable amount of talent and experience. I'm going to say combined experience 100 years.
Okay.
All the people that were involved in my selection process for the male and the temperaments and things of that nature, and going through all the pedigrees way, way back. And when you talk about what it costs for that female and that male, when you're going to start and do a really good, solid dog, you're talking about, for that type of male, I know people who have purchased dogs in the last year, private people that purchased dogs from Europe, got them here $15,000.
No kidding. So isn't that interesting? And obviously a male shepherd can maybe be a stud dog for a dozen years, but again, if you're having your own little kennel, you can't breed them to absolutely everybody. You got to bring in new girlfriends, right?
It's got to be a controlled thing.
Well,
and
I just think
that are in that business that are actually vendors to the police world really have control over their lines, and you're not seeing a lot of poor quality come out these days.
So what happens? Is it to the 8 or 6 or whatever puppies in a litter who grow up to 6 or 8 or 12 months old and just can't cut the shiny floor, or aren't good at being distracted? They become too distractible or something. Are those sold as pets?
They're sold as pets. They're sold to private security whose needs are not as intense.
Oh, interesting. Sure. You just need a menacing-looking dog, let's say. It doesn't have to do very much. It just has to walk around looking really buff and serious.
Well, there's a lot of people that also want a dog to do sporting things with, and a lot of these dogs tend to be, that may not be the police dog of choice, tend to be very good service dogs on the other side. And there are dogs that are set up for detection of money, detection of lost persons. Detection.
Wait a minute, detection of lost money. Back up.
Well,
that is pretty interesting. Of money. You mean like money that has to do with the drug trade and people moving money in suitcases from point A to B?
Absolutely.
Money has a smell?
Most money in the United States has some trace of cocaine odor on it.
No
and there are
kidding.
dogs that pick that up. I actually have one of the officers within our police canine region. On a traffic stop, his dog detected a hit on a spare tire, and there was $280,000 in that tire.
And he picked up on the smell of money. Nobody take that. I'm keeping that as a title for something. We knew The Color of Money was an excellent movie with Paul Newman and Tom Cruise. The smell of money. So one of these puppies that just doesn't have the whole package to do the high-level work that you and Jasper and your colleagues do could be a money sniffer.
Sure.
Wow. So there's so many different tasks that they can perform. I mean, even down to that kind of very, very specific work.
And I've met people, I've worked with people in the past that just living in the city, for instance, and depending on the economic climate we're in is where crime goes. And there are people that just feel more secure having that type of dog with them, and they don't need... They don't need a man-stopper dog. They just need a dog with presence. And a lot of time, that's where a lot of these dogs wind up.
Well, we wish that is how people had used pit bulls instead of misusing them, because there are people that sort of want them for just a look. But unfortunately, they've allowed those dogs to, well, they weren't that thoughtful ahead of time about the temperament, but then they've allowed them to act out behavior, which we really don't want people, at least I don't want people, just your average family, to say, well, I want one of Shawn's German Shepherds to protect my family. We don't really want dogs with people that aren't highly trained and understand it to have dogs that are like a trigger that can be pulled. They should look darn serious. And if someone looks through the window of your door and sees one of these beautiful dogs, they should like go to the neighbor's house and look for a cat, But we really don't want dogs that if you give the wrong Achtung command, oopsie, just killed the postman.
I do want to just bring one thing around back center again, and that is whether we're talking about a police dog, whether we're talking about a dog that's with a family, whether we're talking about a dog that's just with one person, the number one source of problems in any dog is lack of fulfillment. And police dogs work for a reward, and house dogs typically, we don't look at that. We expect to come home from work, throw our things down, check the mail, check the email, start dinner, and here's our dog who's been waiting for us all day.
Well said.
Not getting his fulfillment. And then we take that dog once a week for a walk on leash, and we wonder why is he becoming aggressive with other dogs.
Yes.
And it all ties back into fulfillment. And when you see a police dog in Grand Central, and you see that dog looking just majestic next to his handler and alert, that dog has that high level of fulfillment. He's getting the work and exercise, mental and physical stimulation that he needs. And if you take those practices and principles and bring them into the house, this is where we can kind of cross over between two worlds.
Yes.
When you bring these things into the home, that's when we can start to create a more well-rounded, well-behaved dog.
So it's a really good point, because they need that physical stimulation, they need the mental stimulation of some trick work, obedience work, whatever it may be, and they also need reward, whether it's your time, whether it's tugging on something. As you say, ball-driven dogs is a big plus for you guys, because that's so satisfying to the dogs who really love it. And sometimes you use food, not always, but sometimes that's the thing that rings a dog's bell the most. It's not what you guys usually choose, right?
No, there are some agencies that will use food, and again, I've talked about this in the past with you. Per dog is how we're going to look at this. There are some dogs that work better for a ball, some dogs that work better for tugging on a towel, some dogs that work better for food, and it really depends on how excited we want the dog, how calm we want. I mean, food creates slow thought because it's already there, and the dog's salivating. The salivatory gland's already going, so food will slow the dog down a little bit. Where prey drive, with the ball moving quick, or the tug, that's going to bring speed and hectic behavior out sometimes. So it depends on what dog we're talking about. But this is everyone's dog at home. We have to know what our dog's language is for reward. What does our dog love to do with us?
So were you training military and police dogs, and the next time we talk, there's just so many topics, like what would you differentiate between a dog you choose for the military or the police? Is it that different? And clearly it must be, because these are all such specific tasks. But in the end of the day, there's no cookie cutter approach to anything to do with dogs and their training and understanding them. Each one's an individual. And so, as you said, are the humans being trained alongside them. So you have a guy or gal being trained to be a bomb detective human. They're a team with that dog, but they too are learning all the tricks of the trade and the things they have to know. And I think it's really important that people understand that in training a dog, you can read the dog Bible. I have, the top 10 things the dog should know how to do. I give you 4 paragraphs on each one. You're not going to figure it out by yourself, guys. I mean, I've worked one-on-one with some fantastic trainers, Allison Denley, who's the other official trainer of the show. I look forward to working with Shawn someday, but I kind of don't want to have the aggressive dog that I need to work out with him. But, obedience class is great, but it really has a lot to do with listening and learning and not watching that TV show unless you want to watch it for entertainment. Because I'll tell you again that what you see on The Dog Whisperer has nothing to do with the kinds of years of study, talent, training, and sensitivity that Shawn or Allison has when they work with your dog, and that you need to find a trainer who can work one-on-one and understands what pushes your dog's buttons, both good and bad. Right, Shawn? I mean, That's the thing, is there's no one way only to get the job done. In fact, you have to have one that's suited to that individual animal, or you'll just be banging your head against a wall.
Yeah, and it's sad because a lot of people in the private world especially, they get where the trainer just wants their method only, and it's not fitting. And it took me years to learn that too. Like, really, I have to take into account who my people are I'm working with and try and understand what their limits are. And sometimes you say, hey, you know what, this dog needs to leave your home. I mean, I've said that before. When
the aggression issue, or the power issue is just way more than those people want to learn how to handle.
When it's that, or even if it's just a fun, loose dog that they just want to mush with and don't want to provide structure for, and a good dog can be ruined quick.
Yes.
Then you want to do the right thing for the dog at the end of the day. That's really it.
Which is really a great thing to keep in mind, that you don't just mollycoddle people because they're paying you. You say, look, you got to do right by this dog. These dogs have emotional and physical needs, and they're there for our pleasure and companionship and entertainment, but we got to fulfill them first before they can fulfill that part in our life, right?
Absolutely. Remember what in my tribute to my dog, I wrote that your dog's home all day waiting for you. He always has time for you. You got to make time for them.
That's right. And we're gonna pick up there when we talk again, which I know we're gonna do, because it's always so interesting and such a wonderful global perspective of dogs when we talk. Shawn Stewart, dogsareasy.com, and if you